Making a Way with Bargain Queen Sheryl Renee on KUHS Radio TV Denver.
Da-da-da-da-da. Hello. Welcome to the show. You're listening to Making a Way with Bargain Queen Sheryl Renee. It's hump day. How's everybody doing out there? You doing all right? I'm doing great. Woo! Back here in the studios at KUHS Denver. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. If a way's been made for you out of no way this week, if something came through that you had no idea how it would come through, but a way was made, throw your hands in the air. Yes, indeedy. All right. Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in this Wednesday, August the 24th. Today's show the topic is relationships. And, I mentioned last week that it would be love. But this week, it's about relationships. We're going to talk about all relationships, loving relationships, family relationships. And the motto of this show is Making a Way. The name of the show is Making a Way, and it comes from the Christian saying, making a way, God will make a way out of no way. But, Henry, y'all awful loud in there. I'm talking to my next door neighbors. But the thing is, the motto is sharing no-cost to low-cost ways to enhance the quality of your life. So basically, this show is geared towards working-class, low-income people. I say Americans because we do focus on the systems here in America, the stores here, our way of life here. But we've got a show that airs across the world. And I'm so happy to say that we have visitors from around the world listening in. Looking at the ticker here, I'm going to sound off in a little while, but basically, I wanted to give a disclaimer before we started this show because we are not, I want you to know that myself and my sidekick, Lisa McGrew, who is on the phone. Hey, Lisa.
Hey.
Oh, okay, I'm just giving my disclaimer right now, though, that we are constantly, every week, we are learning something new. We're sharing information, but we don't propose to be experts and know-it-alls about anything. And before we started the show today, I wanted to say that this show was important to me about relationships. It started last week because I'm in a relationship with someone, and I, after being single for many years, I would say I've been perpetually single. But I am not an expert in any of these things. I am still learning, and I wanted to do the show last week on love because I just needed some help. I need some help on how to do this. How do you maintain a long-term relationship? How do you keep the love alive? How do you learn how to talk to each other, how to deal with each other? So I wanted to give a disclaimer. I come from a very dysfunctional family. I'm just going to put it out there. And I don't say that in shame. I don't say that to put people down. I'm an incest survivor, and in the telling of it, I really lost my parents. I don't have a relationship. I have a very estranged relationship with both of my parents. I was molested by my father and my stepfather when I was a young child. It has affected me as a woman. It's affected me. And the reality is that it's affected how, I'm growing, I'm learning, and I'm constantly surrounding myself with knowledge and people who can help me enhance and take my life to the next level. But I am far from an expert. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there before we even get started because, I'm not perfect, but guess what? I don't care who you are listening, neither are you. None of us are perfect. And so we all have things that we can learn, and we all have areas for growth. We can all grow. And that's what this show is about. We want to share information. And I got my girl on the phone. This is Lisa McGrew, my Pinterest pal, my best friend of 40 years. And we've been on the air together since January 21st. And we think we've got a little rhythm going. And so, hey, Lisa, you say you're doing good. How you doing, friend?
I'm doing great. Real good.
Okay, well, our show correlates with our Pinterest page, which is Bargain Queen Sheryl Renee. Also, Lisa has a Pinterest page at Lisa McGrew. But basically, our show correlates with this page, and boy, do we have. If you are not, go ahead and tell the folks how to get on Pinterest, and just a little bit direct them towards this board before we jump in here.
Okay, I'll direct it for anyone who doesn't have Pinterest. It's a free virtual bulletin board, and there's so much, just millions and millions of pins. Now, each pin is a link to a website or some information. So today for this show, on Bargain Queen, Sheryl Renee, there's one of her bulletin boards is called Creating Mutually Positive Relationships. And right now, there are 160 pins or links to websites or books or whatever that talk about these positive relationships, committed relationships.
All right, so we're going to jump in, but before we do, I just want to announce that at the 11:30 hour, 11:32, right in there, we're going to have Mr. Carl Carwell on the show, and Carl is a spiritual counselor. He happens to also be one of the singingest people I've ever met in my life. I met Carl maybe about 8 years ago. We were instant best friends, honest to God. I love him so much, but he's so wise, and what he does, he's a relationship counselor, and he's got about 30, 40 people that he works with on a regular, and so I'm so excited to have him on the show a little bit later. So stay tuned for that. But right now, Lisa, let's just jump in here because we were talking about what was the best way to start, and I think we have to start with the fact that, of what happens in our formative years and how those things that happen affect our relationships as we become adults. Go ahead, Lisa. The floor is yours.
Okay, so just let me say, what we're talking about on this show is, you can find it on Sheryl's link, and so that, you don't have to remember everything here, but if something clicks for you and you want to look it up, it's on Sheryl's Pinterest board for this show today. So, I really like this woman. Her name is Shelley Bullard. She's a psychotherapist, and she writes for a website called mindbodygreen.org, or .com, excuse me. And I have lots of her stuff pinned all over this board today. And she really talks a lot about how your childhood plays a significant role in how your relationships unfold, how these committed relationships unfold. And, she basically says that we all want to build relationships and that don't carry the wounds from our past, but a lot of times we're attracted to the people who trigger those very wounds that we need to work through. So we tend to keep getting involved with people that trigger those childhood wounds. So she has a really good thing. I think she says that when you confront your pain that surfaces in your relationship, it actually can be a catalyst for growth. So sometimes we want to run away, but she's saying, no, confront it because it can actually help you to grow. And, none of us have perfect parents, but in order to transcend, come out of the stuff that we experienced as a child in our families, we have to turn back to ourselves. And I think that our realities are based on our belief systems from our past. We were shaped by how our parents interacted or how our families interacted.
Right. Like we had Reverend Barry on here a few weeks ago, and he was saying that, if you were raised with people who were yellers and screamers, then you're probably do some yelling and screaming yourself, or you know what I mean. But
exactly.
But also, Lisa, can you just very quickly tell our audience what your experience is in dealing with people and counseling yourself, because you were a professional yourself?
Well, sure, yeah. I have a master's in social work, and I was a clinical social worker, child and family therapist, and I specialized in the latter part of my career in working with the area of trauma and childhood trauma, family trauma. And so not only have I worked with families in that area, but I myself have been in both individual counseling and couples counseling.
Okay.
And so that those kind of shaped some of my viewpoints as well.
Okay. I'm just looking at some of the pins that we have here on this Pinterest board. And again, you'll find it at Bargain Queen Sheryl Renee on Pinterest.com. But, oh, man, there's some great stuff from Wayne Dyer. You've got some stuff from the book Passionate Marriage. Here's when nothing ever goes away until it teaches you what we need to know. So, you think, you were talking about how we tend to be attracted to the people that will cause us to work and confront the things that we need to fix, and maybe God plans it that way. What do you think?
Well, I think that God plans it that way, and it's just the way things work. When you're triggered in a relationship, it means that a wound from the past is coming to the surface. Mm-hmm. And then we can either, try and avoid that, or we can try to confront it and transcend it in these relationships. So, and this woman I'm talking about, Bullard, she says that the person in relationship may have done something wrong, but it's actually secondary information. The primary information is that we end up feeling powerless, unknown, unloved, or trapped. And that's how we're triggered. Well, she actually says you wouldn't be in that situation if you hadn't created it. So you've created it based on your belief system and your shaping from your childhood. Mm-hmm. So she says that we have to take personal responsibility so that we can shift from a faulty belief system and move forward into a more rewarding reality. And that's really hard because I think that I really think that I've read this by David Schnarch. I'll talk about him in a little while in one of his books. And, it's when we are in a committed relationship, it's almost like we each hold up a mirror to the other person, and we are forced then with that mirror to have to face our reality. Mm-hmm. And we have to focus the attention back on ourselves in order to get through it. That's the door to freedom, is not walking away, but letting us have that mirror held up to us, and then we make the choice whether we're going to walk away or whether we're going to just kind of face it.
Well, me, I'd like to talk about some solutions, you know what I mean? Some things that we can do, some practical things that we could do to make our relationship smoother. And in the focus right now is on a loving relationship, whether you're being with your partner, but it could be a relationship with your parents, with friends, with your children. One thing Dr. Berry had mentioned was being able to just walk away from a situation until you come back. Basically saying, I don't feel respected right now. Let's revisit this. But what do you do when you have that person that won't let it go, won't let you walk away? You know what I mean? It's like I want to give the listeners some practical tools that we can use. And I know that one of the things that you talked about yesterday was the I message. Talk a little bit about that before we go to our music.
Sure. Well, I do think that I'll just mention, and we can talk about it a little bit later, but there's kind of some basic rules for fighting fair. And since you mentioned the iMessage, an iMessage is basically when there's a conflict or an argument, and instead of, continuing to blame, you can just stop, get yourself calm, and say something like, you basically say, I feel, you fill in the blank, when you fill in the blank, and what I need from you is you fill in the blank. And instead of going, you make me feel, or you make me, and blaming them with a you statement, you try to use an I statement. It kind of tones things down, and it helps the person not feel like you're blaming them for everything. You're taking responsibility, but you're communicating in a very clear way. It helps.
And you know, it's so interesting because I was actually introduced to this. I remember when, about 15 years ago when I decided I was ready. I was mentally ready for a relationship because, of course, I had all kind of problems, just trying to heal how to deal with people. But 15 years ago, I started reading books and I remember I made a pamphlet for my friends that basically said that, when we say you did this, you did that, it makes you very defensive. But if you flip it and say, this is how I am feeling this way, it just takes some of the edge off of it. It's like when you say you've got a finger pointed in somebody's chest, but when you say I, you're pointing the finger at yourself, and it kind of diffuses the energy. So that's what that is, that I message. And, we want to give you some practical tools. Perhaps you're having a problem. You've got, friends that you're not speaking with or whatever. We just want to give some practical tools about how we can create mutually positive, healthy relationships. And so we're going to come back with some more solutions. I always play a song, but this time I decided to play a song that I am actually the featured vocalist on. It was written by a woman named Patty Valentine, a classical pianist, and she flew me in from New York City to come here to Colorado to record this several years ago. And the song, I feel like, is so relevant to what we're talking about. It's about basically empowering yourself, because that's what this is all comes down to, is how can we empower ourselves? How can we, what can we do to have healthy relationships? So anyway, this is Who Am I with myself, Sheryl Renee, and Miss Patty Valentine. I built my life around you for so many years. I even learned to say just what you wanted to hear from me. Your friends are now my friend. I left all of mine behind. So won't you tell me, please? I'd really like to know, who am I? Where am I to go? Or does it matter anymore? How was I to know I'd be more shattered than before? 'Cause when the pain of all the past came crashing down inside, I asked myself, I really need to know, who am I? Who am I? I built my world around you, and you still went away. You never listened to what I tried to say to you. Though you're gone from my life, I know that I'll survive. You see, I ask myself, it is for me to know. Yes, I ask myself, and I am so glad I know who I am. Yes, I know who I am. Who I am. So glad I know who I am. Yeah, that's Miss Patty Valentine and myself on vocals. You gotta know who you are, folks. Can't lose yourself in any relationship. Who I am. Yes. Who am I? Who are you? Who I am. Oh my goodness. Beautiful Patty. Yes, indeed. And on the phone, Lisa, you there? Okay, hold on. All right, let's see. Let me call her back. For some reason we got disconnected. Hello? For those of you just tuning in, you're listening to KUHSdenver.com. Hi, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Just very quickly, I want to say hello to our friends in Argentina, Spain, Portugal, India. Of course, all of our folks in the United States, Poland, Serbia, Macedonia. I just found out I'll be performing in Macedonia next July. Love it. But anyway, so glad to have you all listening in. Thank you so much. The topic today is relationships, and I'm just going to turn the table, just give it to Lisa so she can talk about some fun ways and some fair ways to fight. Right? Did you say? Go ahead, Lisa.
And before I do that, I just wanted to jump back for just a second and mention another person who I really respect. It's a PhD. His name is David Schnarch. And one of his books is called Passionate Marriage. Often in graduate schools, this book is used to train people on marriage therapy, that type of thing. And he really talks about that when we're in a committed relationship, we have basically, we're all eventually going to hit the wall. But we have three choices. We can either kind of force one or the other person to our own will, and eventually that doesn't work. We can break up and move on, but eventually you're going to be faced with your same past issues. And the third one is to just kind of work through your past in the present of your current relationship. It's hard to do. And what I wanted to say about that is, so, all right, we're all going to hit the wall. We're all going to fight. We're all going to argue. What are some ways to fight fair, to argue fairly with our partner?
Yes.
Well, a lot of, by the way, there's many of these pins all on Sheryl's Pinterest board for this show, so check it out. Basically, I think the most important thing is to stay on the issue until it's resolved. And
right, don't bring in what happened last month. Right, you got to stick with the issue at hand.
That's right, and I think that sometimes if now if the immediate moment isn't convenient for you, plan a mutual beneficial time where you can actually, turn off the television, focus on each other, give each other your full undivided attention, and stay on that particular issue until it's resolved. And share your feelings openly. And one of the hardest things is to accept appropriate responsibility for your own behavior, for your own action. So that's tough. And one of the most fair things you can do is avoid your partner's tender areas. Don't go cutthroat and try and, attack them on their tender areas. So,
and that is such an important point, because please remember out there that words destroy people. Words can kill a relationship. Well, when we were growing up, they used to say sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That's a lie. That's a lie. Yes, sticks and stones will break your bones, but I'll tell you what, the tongue, this boneless thing that we have in our mouths, is powerful. And words can destroy something that you're working so hard to build up. Right?
That's
Lisa?
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's what you said is absolutely true. So let's stick to fair fighting and speak only for yourself, using those I messages, not you messages. You're not going to be speaking for your partner. You're going to speak only for yourself. Well, what's dirty fighting? Dirty fighting is when you attack. You're trying to bring up old scores. You're not talking about the immediate issue. You are hiding your feelings and not being honest, not being true. And you're just blaming. Everything is someone else's fault. Everything else is that person's fault. So a thing that happens to all of us, I wanted to talk a little bit about what we call either thinking errors or thinking distortions. Mm-hmm. And everybody, we all have these. And they can come up during arguments or just during a relationship at any given time. So let's say you're trying to work it through. You're trying to, make that time to work out an immediate problem that you're having. And one person is always playing the victim. They are forever the victim. Or one person is always anger storming. Well, when someone's anger storming, they get you to walk on eggshells so that you really can't talk about it. It's basically all right. Thinking distortions they're a way for you to avoid taking responsibility for yourself. And we all do that in a whole variety of ways. Like catastrophizing something, and not just, everything is a big catastrophe, or everything is all or nothing. There's no black or white. It's, everything is good or bad. There's no middle ground. That's right. A thinking distortion.
Yeah.
And that, the other one that we tend to use is you should, you must. That's a thinking distortion, and it gets us out of taking responsibility for ourselves. Another really common one is mind reading. Instead of checking it out with the other person and asking them, we make these assumptions. Well, they didn't show up because this, when in fact it may not have been that. Or we just make these big assumptions that actually create huge barriers. Mm-hmm. So we need to avoid the thinking distortions and start to recognize our own. What do we do? What do we tend to do in order to avoid taking responsibility for our own behavior, our own thoughts and actions?
Well, we just have about a minute left, but one thing I wanted to point out, too, is the word expectations, because I think sometimes people unfairly put their expectations, they make it such a big thing in the relationship, and it's hard to live up to other people's expectations or the expectations that you have from someone, instead of just letting things go, letting things be. You know what I mean? Well, I thought you would have done this, or I would have said it this way, or, I just don't think those help the relationship.
Yeah, and I know that one of the things on Pinterest that I read about this show was that if you happen to be tending toward depression or anxiety or have had some childhood traumas, you tend to be hypersensitive, and then your expectations get easily dashed, and then you end up disliking. Even when you love someone, you just kind of hate them. You can hate them, and it's really not about them. It's really about, once again, going back and working through your own stuff. Mm-hmm. And And remembering, no one else can make us happy. We have to find it from within. Now, they can, your partner can enhance your own happiness, your own, positive self-worth, but they can't create it for you. We all have to go out there and plant our own garden and do that for ourselves.
Well, it starts with getting a little help, a little more insight. And again, we just want to direct you to the Pinterest page. I'm so proud of this page. This page made me pull up because I was, going through some things in my own relationship. And I got into this Pinterest board. We've got articles here, numerous articles on giving you examples on how to fair fight, on how to talk to each other, things you can do to revive the love, And one thing I want to say is don't stop touching, don't stop holding hands, don't stop, reaching out. For your loved ones and for the people that you care about. Again, Lisa, give them the information again before we go on how they can find our Pinterest page.
Sure. Open up your Pinterest account. If you already have your Pinterest account, try to search for Bargain Queen Sheryl Renee, and then she's going to have lots of different bulletin boards on there, but today's board is called Creating Mutually Positive Relationships. And you can also find me on Lisa McGrew. I have my own, and I have one that's called Love and Marriage.
Yes, Frugal Happy. That's the name of her page, Frugal Happy. And that's what we are. And
that's right.
Our goal is just to enhance your lives, to help you. We're all hardworking. Not all of us have the insurance or the means to go get professional counseling. Lisa, thank you so much. I'm going to be back with Carl Carwell here in just a minute. Love you, girl. Thank you again.
My pleasure.
Business
Bye-bye.
owner? Have you always wanted to advertise but didn't know how? Get your advertising going with KUHS Denver and deliver to all the Front Range, to Colorado, to the entire world. We can do it for you from start to finish, complete with a professional commercial, social site presence, and other avenues of advertising. KUHS is now a very successful advertising outlet that brings results for your business or product. Get going today by calling Henry at 303-255-0567. Advertise with KUHSdenver.com today. Call Henry 303-255-0567. Advertise locally, be heard worldwide. Again, give Henry at KUHS Denver a call at 303-255-0567 to advertise with KUHSdenver.com.
All righty then. Let me dial the right number. How's everybody doing out there? You're listening to KUHS Denver. Let's see. I'm calling you right now, Carl. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I kept getting a busy signal, so I'm going to try again here. Oh, Sheryl Renee, if you'll do this thing right. All right, everybody, it's going to be worth the wait. I tell you, it's going to be worth the wait. Okay, Carl, call in because I keep getting a busy signal when I'm trying to reach you right now. For some reason, it's not coming in, so I'm just going to wait for him to call me. Again, coming up right now is my dear, dear, dear brother, friend. He is probably one of the greatest vocalists ever, and he just happens to be completely wise when it comes to relationships. Spiritual counselor, who usually really uses the Word of God to do this thing here. Okay, I'm trying him one more time. Let's see, because 259-5724. Okay, let's see if we can't get him on the line here. Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, this happens to me. I just don't know. I guess for those of you listening in from around the world, your boy Carl is coming up. Oh, there you are. Hold on a second, please. All right. Carl?
This is he.
Oh, there he There's my friend. Oh my gosh, my confidant, my person I call when I am completely. Oh my gosh! When you need that guy, I think every woman particularly needs a male friend that she can call when she's down and out. And I happen to have two very dear bestie male friends, and Carl is one of them. Welcome to the show,
Thank
Carl.
You. Thank you. I'm excited.
Okay, well, just why don't you tell the listeners first of all? I started talking about him as a vocalist, but I'm going to come back to that later. But talk a little bit about what you've been doing and the people that you've been helping and how it all started for you.
As early as way back when I was around 20 years old, I found myself being a counselor in the high school, and that was clearly a miracle because I was placed at a counselor without even a degree. So it started around that time, but through the years, no matter whether I was on concert tour or wherever I've been at, I've always been involved in a teaching and counseling ministry type of way, and it's always been about relationships. That's normally pretty much everything is where it's always started from.
Right, because people, when no matter where you are, who you're around, people are going through it.
Absolutely.
Trying to find love, trying to survive love, trying to heal love, So Carl is the person I called on to be to just help us and give us some advice for all of us out here. We got people listening from around the world. I'm looking here. We got folks tuning in from Singapore, Poland, Hungary, Peru. I don't care where you are in the world. You've got a relationship going on that you could use some help with. And so just jump right on in, Carl. What can we do? How, just jump in. What do you have to share with us today?
Well, the first thing I need to qualify myself. I've been married 42 years. I'm probably the least likely person, being where I came from, that you would think would have been in a committed type of relationship that would carry pretty much a whoremonger in the beginning years of my life, and moved into commitment and committed relationship, and been about that ever since I was young. So I've been married 42 years. I'm saddened by the fact that I see more and more today. I just can't understand. There's so many qualified females that are not in relationships, and pretty much everyone's anthem is that there's no qualified guys, right? The guys are no good. The guys are not ready to be in relationships. The guys are immature. All of the same things that apply. But I submit to you that I believe a lot of it has to do, women are shooting their own selves in the foot.
Oh, yes. Tell us what we're
doing.
And
what I mean, absolutely. But what I mean by that is you have to make me respect you, me as the male. I'm going to only respect you if you have some standard and quality of yourself, and you make me respect you. If you start into a relationship, and we start in a relationship, and if we start the relationship off on a physical level, then that is now the foundation of our relationship. If that physical happens too soon, then you have now taken away the power that you had. And now I don't have to get to know you. I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to communicate with you, because how I know you is through a sexual, lustful relationship.
Yeah.
So that's what we have in common now. That's how I know you. So when you get to the point, as women, all women will, because women are always about going to the next level, as you get to the next point and your emotions drive you to want to take the relationship into the next dimension, I'm not going to be there with you, because I know you as a sexual partner, and our relationship is built on lust. Okay. Now, of course, there are certainly exceptions in every area. There are some relationships that start off that way and have moved into a commitment relationship, but they're few and far in between. And when they are, they're really hard in the first few years. So the possibility of breaking up and not lasting is really quite available there.
Right, because you haven't built the friendship part first. You haven't built the friendship part and the getting to know each other. So, so what happens is that when two people are intimate and you allow, and a woman or takes a man or takes someone inside of her, that person is inside of you, but do you really know who you're dealing with? Absolutely.
If you refrain from giving me the physical, it makes me have to get to know you. It makes me have to talk to see what kind of person you are. You get to see what type of person I am, even though all men are fake in the beginning.
You say all men are fake,
and we are. And we are. I mean, we are. We love everything you love. We say we like everything you like.
We like everything
we want to do everything you do. Right, everything you cook, we like, okay? Because we've got one goal in mind. That's to conquer you.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
That's our goal in mind.
Hunters.
Now,
Men are hunters,
if you
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, if you withhold, you're going to accomplish two things. Number one, you're going to see what my real motivation is, because I can only fake it so long.
Exactly. 3
weeks.
We
go a few months.
I say
Absolutely.
3 weeks, 3 months, and then 3 years, people reveal really their true selves.
Well, absolutely. After a period of time, I'm going to either pull out of this, because I ain't getting none. So if that happens, okay, well, he wasn't about me anyway. He was just trying to get some. Or secondly, I'm going to make a decision and that I'm going to go ahead and last this out. And while lasting this out, we start communicating. You start getting to find out things about me. Yeah. I'm a firm believer that people don't talk things out in a relationship. A woman should know how a man feels about being married. Is this something he wants to do? How a man feels about taking care of responsibilities. Is this something he's ready for? How he feels about children. Is he really ready to be a father and carry on the responsibility? Is he ready to give up the field and be committed in a relationship? These are things that a female needs to know, and they need to be talked about.
Right. And I just want to say right now, this is a show, we have listeners from around the world, and we understand that there are different demographics, different relationships. Now, Carl and I are both heterosexual, so of course that's the way that we're talking right now. But these things can be applied to whatever however you identify, whatever your relationship is. But Carl, I want to touch on the fact that there's panic out there, because let's just talk about it. I know here in Colorado, it's 9 women to 1 man. In Atlanta,
Absolutely.
It's 11 women to 1 man. Our men are dying off, and I can just speak right now to the black community here in the United States. Our men are these, especially the young men, the way that they are killing each other off. They're either in prison. We've got 3 million men in prison here in the United States. Men are stepping into their homosexuality, if that is their preference, whatever it is. The pool is slim. I don't know how
Absolutely.
to say it. So I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that women are they're panicking a little bit. I got to give this person all that I have. I have to put all that I have into this man to show him who I am, because there's so much competition out there. What do you say about that?
Absolutely. That's the whole driving force of why women are letting down their standards. You should never pick a relationship under a loneliness attitude, under a desperation attitude, because you're going to let down your standards. And if you let down your standards, this is probably not the type of female. We see over and over many guys who are with females for a long period of time. They have a sexual relationship. The girl thinks they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and then the guy only leaves them to marry a square type of girl. I promise you that square type of girl is a girl who has kept her standards, has not been moved by the circumstances or the statistics. She's decided that, hey, I have a quality about myself. I'm not going to do this and not going to do that. I'm not going to give myself, I'm a treasure, and I'm going to give myself to a man who wants to really understand what this treasure is.
Right. So basically, you have to empower yourself. You have to have your self-esteem, your self-worth. You have to kind of believe that you are worth the wait.
Absolutely. Why would I want a woman that don't believe that?
Right.
Okay? Because this woman, first off, that I'm going to marry, men are basically insecure. All right? So I don't want to have the thoughts. If I'm with a female and we have a relationship in the first day or two, you can better believe it's going to be hard for me to get really serious because I have those thoughts in my mind. I have those thoughts in my mind, well, if it was that easy for me, how many times has it been that easy with some other guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that to deal with. Now, once again, there are these relationships that do last, that are committed, and but they have a harder time because there was many things that weren't talked about because there was so much physicalness going on.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So you got to believe you are worth it. You have to believe it to make me believe.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
You have to. And I mean, because God has set a standard that works. He has a standard and he has a process that works, and those processes are for a reason.
Okay,
and it
can
works
I just say
if you
this,
work
though?
it.
Because you did mention, you said God has a process. But, all throughout the Bible times, people didn't have long courtships. You've got matchmakers, you've got, because we have people listening from around the world, you have cultures where people don't even know the person they're marrying until they show up on their wedding day. You know what I mean? There have always been different kind of things. Back in the day, a guy could come up and all he had to do was have a dowry. He could say, I want that girl to be my bride, and they have a dowry. I think that today's standards, we require longer courtships in today's standards more so than they were, thousands of years ago. What do you say?
Absolutely. The mindset is different. Remember that back in the Bible days, men and women, God had a process to replenish the earth. So men and women came together to replenish the earth. Okay, that changed in New Testament time.
Mm-hmm.
In New Testament time. So now the relationships about people care for each other. People want to pick their own relationships today. They decide what they want, what they don't want. People have a whole different mindset today. So that's the only thing that's different. And it requires a lot more abstaining if you want the relationship to be built on a firm foundation. Mm-hmm. How you build that foundation is what's going to make that house. How it's going to build that house. And if the house is built on shaky ground, as soon as the first storm comes, it blows the house down. That relationship is ready to give up. Right. People are ready to get divorced. They're ready to break up because it wasn't built on a firm foundation.
Well, Carl, you are so right. Well, listen, before you get away, can you give us some how do you maintain longevity? That's my thing. I have never. Longevity has been an issue for me. I'll just say, and I think it is for a lot of people, especially in today's. It's harder today to maintain a relationship than ever before. You got Facebook, you got Twitter, you got Instagram, you got Snapchat, you've got all of these apps where people can communicate, people can hide. They've created the apps where you can reach out to somebody, say what you want, and then it disappears, never to be seen again. So cheating is so much easier now. Outside forces in your relationship like never before. It is so so hard. People don't stay together anymore because of the Bible. People don't stay together anymore for the families. People who are together nowadays are together because they want to be together. Do you have any advice on how to maintain and hold on to longevity?
We know already that the whole process of coming together and of being in a relationship, marriage is called a covenant. Okay? Covenant is a God-inspired idea. God is a covenant God. Mm-hmm. The marriage vows that are given, those marriage vows are all vows taken from the Word of God, for rich or for poor, for better or for worse. Mm-hmm. But in order to be able to carry them out, you must believe in something bigger than yourself. If you have a God that you believe in, if the wife has her relationship with God, if the man has his relationship with God, then the marriage meets in the bottom of that triangle. Mm-hmm. And if the man has a relationship with God, a true relationship with God, then the man is not going to cheat. Not because he doesn't want the marriage to break up. He's not going to cheat because he knows God is watching him, and he doesn't want to disappoint God in his relationship. Mm. So therefore, he honors and worships the covenant. He also understands that this woman is God's daughter. Okay? So you definitely don't want to do her wrong, because you have to answer to God. So you got to have something bigger than yourself to carry this relationship through, and everybody be committed and see it to the end. It's a spiritual thing.
I love that. I love
that.
I
don't cheat because I could cheat and get away with it. Clearly I could. But God is watching me. Mm-hmm. I know that I have to answer to Him. I know His Word. I know the seeds that I sow. There's going to be a crop that's comes from that. Do I want to handle that crop? Do I want to handle the tearing up my family, my children, my wife? Do I want to handle that type of crop? Absolutely not. So I have to make a quality decision as I go through the day. Is this temptation worth it?
And also,
temptation worth it?
Also, just to bring it back to the human part, you know what I mean? You've got to deal with the consequences of being caught. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Do you really want this person who you've chosen? You've picked this person. You're building a life, a family with this person. Do you really want to look at this person, and say, knowing that you're only giving 50% because somebody else out there is getting 50%? But then when you get caught, you've got to try to restore this thing. You know what I mean? And home is good. Home is good.
Absolutely.
So, a lot of people have regret. A lot of people are single and wish they could turn back the hands of time and
you better believe it.
And be back in that home and back in that life that they were working so hard to build.
Absolutely. You don't even have to be a true believer of God or even a believer of the Word of God for a person who has gotten divorced, torn up his relationship with his children, mm-hmm. and just to not be able to realize that this crop, what he's done, has destroyed his life.
Well, I just want to say again, you're listening to Making a Way with Bargain Queen Sheryl Renee, and on the phone is Carl Carwell, who is a spiritual counselor. I personally, if I had money, I would pay for him to go and get officially, legally accredited. He is so wonderful. And how many people are you working with, Carl, would you say right now? How many couples? Give your testimony about that before I let you go.
Well, I've got 5 or 6, 7 different couples that I'm working with. And then I have a few guys that I'm talking with. And then I also have a few single females that I'm talking with always on a consistent basis. And like I said, just wonderful, beautiful, qualified females, just unbelievable how sharp they are. A lot of the guys moving from the hormonal state to realizing that at some point you got to get serious and pick one woman.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I also try to get the guys to understand that one of the worst mistakes you can make is when God has provided a female to you that should be with you, and you have not understood and realized that that was a female and you let her go.
Yeah. Because I can say anybody out there knows it is not hard to find a true mate. It is not easy. I mean, it's not easy. This is something that is not easy. You're not going to leave a true loving relationship with someone who you're so connected with and then find it again and again and again. It just doesn't work that way. And that's why there's so many lonely people in the world. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, you've been listening. Carl, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm going to have you back on, honey, again.
If I could just say one thing before I leave. Okay. Ladies, stand your ground. Yeah. Believe God has a person for each one of you. Just don't give up your standards.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Carl. Yeah, I love you. All right. Love you so much. Thanks for coming on the show. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
All right. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, that was Carl Carwell. And I just got to say, not only is he a dynamic spiritual counselor and friend, he is one of the greatest singers ever born on the face of the earth. He has sung on everyone's project. He lived in L.A. for 30 years. I'm going to end the show with the song about a beautiful song by Celine Dion called Because You Loved Me. But I got to tell you that singing background is Carl and his sister Sue Ann Carwell. Carl, again, has sung with everyone. He's on the credits, Barbara Streisand, Anita Baker. I could go on and on and on and on. And so I said, well, I'm going to sing this song because my brother is on there on the background vocals. I don't know on this track, but if you listen to the original from Celine Dion, you will hear Carl Carwell, my guest who is just here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope that we gave you a little something to help you, get this thing going, help your relationship. Here we go. For all those times you stood by me, for all those truths that you made me see, for all the joy you brought to my life, for all the wrongs that you made right, for every dream you made come true, for all the love I found in you, I'll be forever grateful, darling. You're the one that held me up, never let me fall. You're the one that saw me through it all. You were my strength when I was weak. You were my voice when I couldn't speak. You were my eyes when I couldn't see. You saw the best there was in me, lifted me up when I couldn't reach. You gave me faith 'cause you believe I'm everything I am because you love me. Oh, yeah. You gave me wings that I could fly. You touched my hand, I could touch the sky. I lost my faith, you gave it back to me. You said no star was out of reach. You stood by me and I stood tall. I had your love, I had it all. I'm grateful for each day you gave me. Maybe I don't know that much, but I know this much is true. I was blessed because I was loved by you, yes. You were my strength when I was weak. You were my voice when I couldn't speak. You were my eyes when I couldn't see. You saw the best there was in me, lifted me up when I couldn't reach. You gave me faith 'cause you believe I'm everything I am because you love me. Oh, yeah. You were always there for me, the tender weight that carried me, the light in the dark, shining your love in God, I love her so. You're listening to Making a Way with Bargain Queen Sheryl Renee right here every Wednesday from 11 to noon. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can find past episodes on YouTube. Look for Bargain Queen Sheryl Renee. Have a blessed and prosperous day. I'm everything I am because you love me. I'm everything I am because you love me. See you next week. Bye-bye.